Okay, sorry for the air conditioner in the background, but unfortunately the temperature and the humidity is getting to a point where I don't like it. So, maple bowl, this is a twice turn. I had the inside prepared to go over a chuck so I can completely do the outside, the foot, everything. Tenon, actually. This is tenon. It'll have a very small shallow foot. This is going to be done with spindles, gouges. Not a spindle roughing gouge. One of these suckers. That's my Robert Sorby 1/2 inch. I think I got in the picture anyhow. Yeah. There's a lot of people, even though Richard Raffin's been doing a lot of videos showing that it can be done. Obviously these aren't getting out anywhere, so I'm hoping he doesn't mind a little assist from me. But spindle gouges can be used on bolts, and bowl gouges can be used on spindle work. These myths keep going around because nobody thoroughly reads the post or gets all the facts when they hear, oh, somebody, you know, they were using a spindle gouge and they blew a bowl up and it, you know, lady's cranium open. Well, he was using a spindle roughing gouge, trying to do a bowl, probably hit a knot, split the knot and probably split his head. A regular spindle gouge is used very, very much like a bowl gouge anyway. Matter of fact, many of them are sharpened to where they have a tip and wing set up that is almost identical to a bowl gouge. They just have a shallower flute, which in many cases, especially with greenwood, is a benefit because the shavings quickly disperse, they're out of the way, they're not clogging up the flute. I do a lot of green turning and I use bowl gouges and spindle gouges, and the bowl gouges tend to get a little gummy from the green wood. Next thing you know, the shavings are piling up if you have a deep flute, and you're constantly stopping, smacking it against the lathe or against your hand, whatever, to get the shavings out. So it can be a benefit. So I'm going to get this one, hopefully the outside of it done here pretty quick, and then when I turn it around to do the inside, that'll be part 2. I'll do my best to get the two of them blended together. We'll see how it goes. I haven't done one of these in a while. I'm a little out of practice. Marvelous, marvelous. Okay, I'm remarking my center. It's usually just a little off. I have a minimum that my jaws can handle for the tenon. That's going to be close. Okay, but I've done these before. Okay, you want this, as they say, totally closed. You want the flute pointing to your left. You do not want it open. You don't. It doesn't need to be open. You can push straight in and give it just a turn clockwise. Okay, just skin down the tenon. Oh, goody. It's going to come out just nice. Very nice. Very nice. I'm make sure there's no sharp edges. Those can be a bugger if you haven't run your hand up against them at high speed. Okay, the bottom of the foot needs to be flat. Now if I wasn't using a foot, you don't need to have a flat face for the jaws. So happens it's here, so I'll use it, but you don't need one. As long as you have a good, accurate meeting place between the bottom of the bowl and the tenon, the edge of the jaws will seat just fine, and it won't give you any trouble. Clean that up just a tad. Okay, that's the tenon and the face where the jaws will end up being against it. They're flat and ready to go. Now, the foot is no longer round, of course. Okay, yeah, it needs just a hair. I missed it. Just a little bit more. And yeah, I've been working a lot with maple. All I can get lately. People don't share like they used to. Until you can get out far enough to get your spindle gouge in there. Now all mine are, they have a long taper to them. I probably should have one with a steeper bevel in the front, but I'm comfortable with these. I get into a lot of tight spots with them. So I just have to bring it out by using the spindle on its side, flute pointing about 45 degrees to my left, and I work my way back to the foot until it no longer vibrates from being out of round. And it's basically what I'm doing. It's a 45 degree shear scrape coming out from the bottom. Works out well too because I've used a sealer when I dried these, and you definitely want to get that off, because if you go to use sandpaper on top of it, hopefully you own a sandpaper factory, because it'll take all of it. Okay, now this, I got this off a lady. It's a Marples, half-inch spindle gouge. I do not believe it's high-speed steel, not from the sparks I see when I sharpen it. Possibly, but I mean, it's made by Sheffield. I think it's just a high carbon steel. I think I got enough room to get this started. Yeah. Now, I'll try and keep my big fat hand out of the way. Again, you want the bevel to ride. You don't need to hurry to cut. You got your flute at a 45-degree angle. You can probably see where I'm just to the left of the nose. That's what I'm cutting with. if you run off into space and it starts thumping like that, what it usually means is this has gone slightly oval. So what you do is you back up, get a new trajectory, so you're taking more off as you come up toward the top to take into account the ovalness of the piece, which it's, even with this deeper tool, it's not hard to clean that off, get up close where you have to pick it up again. I actually enjoy using the spindle gouges because I can see what's going on. I can see the type of shaving. I feel it better. Kind of nice to have shavings growing out of your hair. There, all the yes, excuse me, medicine makes me short of breath. All the sealer's off, which is a good thing. Now there's ridges where I was coming up off the bevel occasionally, and that's easy enough to fix. See, with my sweatback wings, I'm still riding a bevel at this time. I also have a shear scraper that I sometimes use if I'm getting a bumpy ride here. Also heard people say we shouldn't be putting your hands on turning wood. Well, I don't know how they go about determining if they got a ridge in their wood, but I do it with my hands. Okay, now this is the Sorby half inch. You probably noticed I can move it a little faster. Takes a finer shaving. Now, the Marples is half inch, but like I say, I don't think it's high-speed steel, which will affect the amount of time that it will stay razor sharp. You'll get a little bounce. Some of you might have seen me use this on other videos. This is a homemade, slightly curved shear scraper. We won't go into what it's made of. It works extremely well. You can see I'm only using bottom 1/4 inch maximum. You don't want to get, I can use it up to that halfway point, but I don't go past it, because if you're holding it at a 45-degree angle and you get up to the top, it's just like a skew. All of a sudden it's just going to grab it, slam it down. It's not going to do your heart rate any good, and it will probably take a huge chunk out of your wood, which will then bring forth usually some choice words. And up near the top, you don't take big cuts. These aren't made for taking really large cuts. They're just smooth. You get torn grain. You can carefully scrape with one of these, and like I have here, I no longer have any torn grain. I have a little bit of ridge from my gouge, which is keeping it flat. Okay, now that's ready to sand. Probably 120 at the coarsest. I do 120 on that to get started. Now the foot's cleaned up and flat. Get that frayed stuff off there. The tenon's ready to go. This is just maple. I've got tons of ambrosia maple that I've been getting. Okay, now on the inside, when I was getting this blank ready, I cut a step inside with a slight bevel that will fit over these jaws when they're almost completely closed, which is about 3 15/16 inches. These are a set of record gripper jaws. You can use really inch-long tenons with just a slight groove near the bottom here, and these things will grip big, long pieces really, really well. But I made it so it just fits over there. I tighten it up. That allows me to do the whole outside, get everything clean, even, sanded. Most of the time I get it all finished. I turn it around on my cleaned up tenon, and now I'm ready to do the inside, which will do the next part, and I will get some better lighting for the inside. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. Now, see, how's that going to affect you guys? Oop. Why do I get the feeling that moved on me during this whole shebang? Well, I will have to fix that. Yep, well, I'm going to try and do this without getting myself in trouble. Okay, when I had cut this recess originally so I could do the bottom, I also flattened out the top. Now, because it makes it easier when you're cutting in and over this edge, if this is flat, you're not going to get a lot of jumping around and maybe a big chip out. Now, the one thing I didn't do, I should have done, is to put a bit of a bevel on this edge, because as Mr. Raffin says, it is extremely painful if you touch your hand up against it without it being beveled, especially at high speeds. Not only will it cut you like a meat slicer, but it cauterizes it. In other words, burns the cut. They usually don't even bleed, which makes it doubly painful. And if you're, if it's a bad slip or something of your hand, you could get a very, very vicious cut. That wood cuts like a meat slicer. So anytime you can, touch it with some sandpaper, the edge of the gouge, whatever, just kind of bevel that off just to protect yourself. I don't like all this hairy stuff hanging around on the front. the hairy stuff won't hurt you, but it just bothers me. Okay. Now, when doing a bowl like this one, where I'm going to have more of a rounded bottom in it, I won't attempt to take one of my very sharp tipped gouges, spindle gouges, all the way around the bottom. You just won't make it. That's why bowl gouges usually have much shallower tips. This is my 3/8. Matter of fact, if I put a secondary bevel on this, I can do just about any bottom I want with it. So I only go as far down as when it starts to lift off the bevel, then I stop, and then I use a scraper and finish off the bottoms. The way Mr. Raffin teaches it, and he is right. It works very, very well. I've done it too much. Yeah, I did it too much. And when you do something like that, make sure you tighten it again, because you've moved the chuck enough to where it could come loose if you don't. Now, this particular marbles, I'm getting to where I like it actually. It's good for when you're starting into the bowl, because it has a good, this one has a good stout shaft. It can be used a lot like a bowl gouge. Same thing, you start them off, your flutes in the closed position to the right. You've got to get in on the bevel. That's not the tool shaking, that's my hand. Then you can turn it slightly. But you have to get the point in there enough to where it's supported, and I'm not doing that at the moment. Now your first few cuts are going to be terrible, like that. It's not round. You're dealing with an out-around internal surface, and I just ride it down and trying to get it smoothed out. But if you notice, the flutes can open about 45 degrees. Now I've got, I can't even get it all in the picture at one time. This is a Sorby. It's called a long and strong. They have a longer shaft. This is 1/2 inch. They have a longer shaft. They can go, I use it for going deep in the bases in some bowls. I also use it for drilling on those deep objects, because I don't have drill bits that long on a base. I can use this spindle gouge to drill my hole as deep as I need it, which is why I have the marks on it. Matter of fact, you can get these with no handles, so like I did, make my own handle. Probably shouldn't say it in an advertisement, but Taylor Tools out of Missouri, he sells them. He sells a lot of Sorby tools with no handles. So you see how much I can get this flattened out now. You've got to get it headed straight in. You can't start it at an angle, otherwise you're going to skid around. got something to support the bevel with, it cuts like a bowl gouge, really. See, that tool's a little short for me. That's why I had the long one out. See, I'm reaching near the bottom. You'll start to hear that where it starts to pick up the grain at the edge, because I'm no longer able to keep it in that smooth curve. See if I can clean that last little bit up with this one. It's just the handle's short. Yeah, see, I was picking up right here. I got a bit of a ridge. I'm not happy with that. See what I can do about it. Especially on the edge, when you're wanting to start, you're going to have the tool pointing straight in to the wood. Put it on the edge of your tool rest, and then don't let it move once you've aligned it the way you want it. Then you pick up on the handle and start giving a little pressure in forward, and it'll start to go in and create that first little bit of bevel you need. Watching how deep a cut I'm taking over here. Don't try and crane your neck over and look in here. It's not, you're not going to see much. And again, you can, especially if you can hold it up like this. Now the thing about doing these, okay, these are when you're doing a scraping, shear scraping. Depending on how thick a wall you've got, I'd say from about this point right here unless you've gained a lot of experience using bowl gouges, spindle gouges, definitely scrapers. Once you've got your opening and your edge up here cut, it's like now I've got it this deep. Coming back to this rim can be dangerous. It can be dangerous to you and to your bowl, because from this point down you're starting to get to the point where you were hearing it give me that screeching noise and a little, I can see the little chatter. It started to cause me some pull out. That's because the wood's starting to give. It's actually starting to oscillate in and out as you cut. What'll happen is, as it gets to a certain point, it will actually grab the edge, causing a catch. which at the very least is probably going to ruin the rim of the bowl, maybe the whole bowl. Worst case scenario, this is going to explode depending on where the catch takes place. And it usually will happen where your end grain is. It will catch it coming in as it lifts the grain due to the oscillation in the chatter. It will catch here and it'll blow big pieces out or actually cause a crack all the way across. So be very, very careful if you're coming back this way. Now in this particular case, I would probably switch, since it's starting to make that actually early in the turn for me. I got an even wall thickness. I would probably switch to my small bowl gouge to finish, to be on the safe side. Now I know my YouTube channel is called The Danger Shop. Yeah, I do some things that give some people nightmares. But truthfully, I'm not out to wear one of these things as a hood ornament in the middle of my forehead. I just don't think that would be a comfortable feeling. Now this is 3/8 bowl gouge. Okay. It's got the shorter bevel. It also, this marples, it's getting dull already. I can already tell it's getting dull. The Sorby's bowl gouge is very sharp. There's just a little bit of picked up grain there, but otherwise it's a nice cut, but it was still starting to sing to me again. No, it's not showing a crack, not by sound, and I haven't seen one. See if I can get one more cut. Okay, I just turned the speed up. Okay, that's 900. Yeah, I was having a little trouble. My tool was wanting to hit the tripod. Okay, I'm not going to go any thinner than that. It's not necessary for what this bowl is going to be used for. Now all I got to do is clean the inside and sand it. At this speed, I can probably do it with this. This is a Craftsman skew I turned into a negative rake. Do not ever use a regular skew, scraper, anything flat on the rest. near the rim. Don't do it. I'm going to put my hand here, even the negative rate. Very slight angle, about a 45-degree angle in the air. It's not going to cut a lot. You can hear it. Right there. It's wanting to bounce. Is there something in here? Nope. And again, we won't discuss what this one's made of. See, that's why you have your hand out here. Okay, I'm using this one flat when I'm in further. As I come back out toward this edge, I'm using it very lightly, up angle, very little pressure. And if you're wondering how I'm managing to keep my hand on there, when you're doing it this way and you're using your hand to steady the bowl as you run your scraper like this inside, you're only wanting to balance. You're putting very light pressure here, you're putting very light pressure out here. You only want to balance it. If your hand starts getting hot, you're pushing too hard. In both cases, you're pushing too hard in, you're giving too much pressure this way. You just want to equalize the pressure. So at 900 RPM, and I haven't even sanded the outside of this yet, I can keep my hand on there, and it's just barely warm. Probably should have sharpened this first, maybe down here. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Now I'll use a scraper. I have a big Hurricane, and I've got one that everybody told me wouldn't work. This is made from a commercial lawnmower blade. It's heat treated by them. That's the hole where the blade mounted. I use it on bowls. I move my rest in like this so that I'm only dealing with an inch and a quarter overhang as I come across the bottom, just rounding it off and smoothing it ready to sand. You know, gave some people constipation when I showed it on the groups. I have no idea why. It's not dangerous. I talked to several lawnmower places that thought it was a good idea because it is such hard stuff. They're actually putting high-speed steel and carbide in lawnmower blades now for the professional grades. So, but anyhow, you can use these spindle gouges inside a bowl, outside a bowl. You can shear scrape with them. It takes practice, but it can be a handy one. I like using them. Just they do a nice job, nice smooth job, and I don't know. To me, they're more comfortable to use because when I'm doing like here, most bowl gouges, you got to have your arm way over here. This way I can keep it with a steep bevel, or a shallow bevel, I can keep it right here over top of the lathe bed as I'm going in and starting my cuts. So that is my danger shop video that I'm sure will bring negative comments, but that's okay. I'm used to them. Any questions? You can find me on Facebook, and or ask me in the comments of the YouTube. I'll answer them.